get your views on what's been happening in social media. Obviously, we've seen Twitter and Facebook take very different stances on political speech, particularly a post in which President Trump suggested that looters be shot. Twitter put that behind a warning. Facebook left it up, and Mark Zuckerberg has doubled down on this idea that Facebook shouldn't be the arbiter of truth, shouldn't be fact-checking political ads and political speech. Is Facebook doing the right thing here?
I think that Facebook is trying to have it both ways, and it has to face facts. It's at this point the most powerful and well-resourced publisher and media company in the world. And saying that they somehow can't account for what's true and what's not true, given that cable news networks, I'm sure Bloomberg and others, have said that, yes, we can take responsibility, doesn't make sense to me or to millions of Americans. It's one reason why Facebook is feeling this pressure internally, externally, to take responsibility, because at this point, they're not a scrappy startup anymore. They're the biggest publishing company in the world.
So what does that mean Facebook should be doing? I mean, should they not take money for political ads at all? Twitter doesn't anymore.
I think Facebook should do away with political advertising. It has to look up and say, like, who's winning and who's losing through this decision to take political ads. And the people that are winning are the people that have millions of dollars to target voters. That's not necessarily the way that we want our democracy to function. So I agree with Twitter's stance on this, and I feel like Facebook should follow suit. You can tell they're thinking about it because they've introduced that maybe you can turn political advertising off. But why not just turn it off for all of us? Maybe, like, who would actually choose to be subject to political advertising on Facebook? None of us.
Meantime, it's not just ads, it's misinformation. It's the polarization that social media creates, where we're all sort of discussing things in our own potentially political silos. How concerned are you that social media could undermine the integrity of this election once again?
I'm terribly concerned, just like many Americans are, because we know that foreign actors have used Facebook and social media to inflame division and sow misinformation, and we're not sure if that's changed. So we need to try and get a greater degree of trust and transparency in terms of how social media is interacting with our democracy. Unfortunately, the Trump administration has no interest in figuring out this set of issues. So we have to get Trump out of there, get Joe in, and then start to dig deeper and figure out how we can trust what we're seeing on social media. This is going to get even worse when you have deep fakes and other unfortunately innovations in misinformation that are going to make it harder and harder for us to trust what we see.
Right, that's already happening. I mean, just a couple of months ago, there was a faked Biden ad that was being promoted by the Trump campaign, and it looked totally legitimate. I mean, aren't those things only going to become more dangerous and more possible as we get closer to the election?
100%. And we have to get our arms around this problem while we still can, because it's unfortunately threatening to get away from us very quickly.
So then there's also the issue of mail-in ballots, and obviously President Trump has made his views on mail-in voting clear. How concerned are you about potentially other election issues emerging and not everyone getting their chance and their right to vote?
I'm terribly concerned, just like anyone who saw the lines in Georgia should be concerned. I mean, the voting is in less than 5 months. And if you don't have mail-in voting available throughout the country, there are many people who might not go out to vote. If they do vote, they might not have polls that they can access in a reasonable time frame. So I don't understand how anyone could be against mail-in voting, especially when you're looking at a pandemic. Anyone who thinks that's political is out of their minds. And even studies have shown that it actually helps both parties evenly. If you're going to believe in a democracy, you have to believe in people's ability to vote, and mail-in voting is common sense during a pandemic.
So what's next for you, Andrew? Obviously, you've got this data dividend project. Where are we going to see you emerge next on the national stage? Will you run again for national office?
Well, right now, my priority is helping Joe win in the fall. It's also helping local candidates around the country that are embracing the humanity forward vision for our economy, universal basic income, data as our property. And I'm happy to say that the first humanity forward candidate won his race in South Carolina. We have some people who are on the ballot tomorrow on Tuesday. So we're doing everything we can to advance our vision of the country, whether we're in office or not.
Now, I know Biden has the momentum in the polls. He raised more money than Trump in May. He's leading by double digits, but it sort of reminds us of the lead up to 2016 when it seemed like Hillary Clinton had it in the bag. I mean, talk to us a little bit about what is still at stake here, in your view, given that there's a very real possibility that President Trump could win this election again.
You imagine another 4 years under President Trump. It's a catastrophe on so many levels. We've lost tens of millions of jobs. We need to have a New Deal type initiative to help us revive the economy. And I don't think that President Trump is going to lead that. We need Joe to win. We need Joe to get into the White House and start this New Deal reconstruction type project. So I think Western civilization is genuinely at stake. In the fall, I think Joe is going to win, but we have to work our hearts out to make sure that comes to pass.